Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 125 of Be With Me. We're going to talk about being a peacemaker today and what is the blessing ahead of that. We're in the Beatitudes, and being a friend of God is being a peacemaker. This is Mt5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. So blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Now, our relationship with God was designed to be a peaceful one, and the problem was back in the Garden of non-Eden, sin came between man and God, and from that day forward, a conflict between mankind and God ensued. But the good news is that God said, I am not going to leave it like this. It is not going to end like this. So God went about the very long process of imparting peace to us via Jesus into our difficult world. Now, you and I all agree that the world is not at peace. There's evil in the world in kind of two ways, both in the heart of mankind, and then there's this other realm of satanic evil that's also happening. And both of us and Satan, the sin in man and the sin in the fallen angelic world is battling, if you will, with the Lord. So into this world, into this environment, into this milieu, God sends us as envoys, as peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers. So into this world of strife and conflict, I was even thinking in a lot of even marriages and in divorce, and certainly have conflict. So even in this place that's supposed to be like a refuge from all the rest of the world, even into that, sort of holy relationship, there is conflict and strife. So the point is that we have an impossible job before us, and it's a miracle when it happens. And He, the Lord, is sending us as missionaries and envoys into that world. So obviously we are sobered, and it's only by grace. It's only by His righteousness. And ironically, how do we get that righteousness? So we are supposed to be this messenger of peace. And then what message do we bring? We bring a message of blood. The irony really struck me today is the message is, number one, that you're bad. And number two, that He sort of fixed that problems by putting the penalty for the badness on someone that wasn't bad, and it was bad, and it was by blood. So to get us to peace, to get us to this right relationship, not just the absence of conflict, but actually this sort of favorable relationship with the Lord, a very high price was paid. So I was thinking about Jonah. Jonah was sent to Nineveh to bring a message of reconciliation with God. Now the problem with him is he wasn't afraid that God wouldn't do it. He was afraid that God would do it. That he didn't want number one, sort of forgiveness, just getting back to neutral for the Ninevites, the Assyrians. He was even afraid that God would go further and bless them and sort of make friends with them and sort of give them grace rather than just mercy. That's what he didn't want for the Ninevites. So in addition, what's our problem? What's man's problem with God? Well, the problem is we love our sin. We love being the way we are, and we love it enough to risk being and to sort of be satisfied with being God's enemies. All right. So the blessing is we get to be sons of God, and that is we get this relationship of permanence and intimacy. So that is we get an inheritance, which is when God says, what's mine is yours. And this is obviously one of privilege, and we get the status upgrade. We also get an obligation, though, which is we have to be about the family's business, which is peacemaking. In addition, when he says that we get to be sons of God, this means that we get to be adoptees into this family, and we get the inheritance. That is, what's mine is going to be yours. So we get a kingdom, according to the rest of the Beatitudes here, is we get a kingdom, and we get comfort, and we get satisfaction, and we receive mercy, and we get to see God. These are just from the 5 or 6 verses before this. All right, so God wants us to go back to being the peacemakers and getting back to the Garden of Eden, if you will, getting back to the way that he designed it. So our charge is to bring peace to God's enemies, and we've got to be careful here. We didn't deserve it, nor do the people deserves it that we minister to. And these are people that, maybe like Jonah's, we can't even imagine these people being in fellowship with God. The irony of this is that this message of peace comes at the highest cost, that to fix the violation, to forgive the violation, and to make them seem like nothing happens other. God puts our sin behind his back. It comes at a great violent cost. So being God's peacemaker comes with a violently paid message of peace. And then the irony that we've also seen is that message is often met with violence. So people love their sin so much they're willing to persecute you and chase you and pursue you for that. So we should be expecting a little conflict and persecution with the message of peace. So today, let's do our job as emissaries, as ambassadors, to go out into the world to try to make peace between man and God with a message, a violent message of Christ on the cross. Thanks for listening. I'll see you tomorrow back in the Beatitudes.